Thank you for being with us, Dr. Richardson. I wanted to talk to you about your book, Bearing Witness While Black, and the impact that you say video has had on this case, George Floyd's murderer being convicted on all three charges today. Can you talk to me about how it could have been different if we didn't have video in this? Do you think that it could have been different?
Absolutely. It is such a double-edged sword. It is a fantastic thing that we had a teenage girl, Darnella Frazier, and I want to say her name as many times as we can, who had the bravery and wherewithal to film the tragic events of that day, because I don't think that we could have gotten to this point without her visual testimony. And that's really what I celebrate in the book, is the bravery of so many Black people who have put their bodies in harm's way to document injustice against other Black people. And I think that this case is a watershed moment, not just for civil rights, but it hopefully sets legal precedents in the future. And it will hopefully also change the way that we have our viewing relationship with these videos. I hope that people now believe us and that we need less and less of these to even get to a trial. And so whereas in the beginning, I was very excited about the fact that people were wielding those things in their pockets in this way and hopefully changing minds and hearts, I'm now at a point where, we've been traumatized by these for years now. And it is high time to start believing Black folks when we say something unjust has happened here. And although we still have people who will ask for a video, I'm hoping that we can move into a new phase, a new era where we need less and less of it to get convictions like these.
When you think about the impact that filming these videos have on the people that were there that day, and then when you blow that up to a bigger scale, the impact that it's had on the Black and brown population watching those videos time and time again. Can you talk to me about the long-term implications of that?
Of course, it has been traumatic for so many different communities, especially the Black and brown communities that have had to see themselves die on primetime television, quite frankly, over and over and over again without any consequence. And I was in the middle of class just now, a very diverse class that I have, teaching journalism at the Annenberg School, and told them, I'm going to go off camera for a second to watch because I kind of felt the tears welling up. And they said, no, we want to watch it together. Can you live stream it? Can you share your screen? And so I had to scramble and find a live stream online, and we did watch it together. And many students did weep because they're just saying, this is what we have grown up with at this point. I'm 40 years old and have only the touch point of the Rodney King video and then a huge gap until the Oscar Grant video. They have grown up with this, my students who are 20 years old. And to just think of the fact that they have had so much mediated violence in their lifetimes and they are at a breaking point and they want to see change gives me real hope that this next generation will help push us to that next level of demanding police reform once and for all.
At the very beginning of the investigation of the murder of George Floyd, people were jubilant that there was video coverage of this. We have the evidence, we can show you the evidence. How has that opinion changed now? And what do you think we should be using instead of video to show what happened?
Absolutely. I think that we should keep these videos in the legal arena. We still need them for sure, but I definitely don't think we should be broadcasting them on television over and over again, almost like a sports highlight. We loop them, and we came under fire a lot last year as journalists for showing them as casually as we were. And we had good intentions, many of us were just trying to get the word out and trying to share what was going on. But recently I've really shifted my thinking on this, and seeing that African Americans are the only ones who have to watch themselves die over and over again, and how traumatizing it can be seeing something that we already know to be true go unpunished. And so if the family is requesting for it to be released, in the same way that Mamie Till Mobley asked for Emmett Till's graphic photographs to be publicized in Jet magazine, by all means adhere to that family's wishes. But too often what we have happening is that news organizations will snap up these videos and loop them, and it's completely out of the family's control how those final images are shown and strewn across the web. And then we are picking them apart and analyzing them, asking people really to pre-litigate their own death, and show me that you didn't rather deserve to be killed. And so then after the case is over, if it even goes to trial, that person's family member is still left entombed online indefinitely. And so it's a grisly cycle that we have created in the effort to get the word out. And I think it's time to wind those efforts down and keep these videos with juries, with the legal authorities that need to see it, with the people who can make decisions about what should happen to that police officer. And again, it should be left up to the families to decide whether they want to disseminate it or not.
When I think about little Adam in Chicago,
Yes.
and his hands in the air, I also think about the narrative that changed as a result of the video footage that we had there. I think it's difficult to explain to people, hey, we're going to hold that video back from you, and we're going to let it play out in a justice system that didn't give the correct narrative of what happened that day. In those cases, how do we get to a place where, okay, we're not showing that video anymore? How do we get to a place where we're still going to get justice?
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people are thinking about that right now, why we needed them in the first place. Why were we asking Black people and brown people to come up with this justification or play this video empathy game before we even get close to a version of justice? And I think what we should start telling people is we need to really pick apart racially why we were asking marginalized groups to do that. Why didn't we believe them in the first place when something happened? When mass shootings happen, for example, we don't need video of that to know that something horrible happened that day. When any number of the horrific things that have been on video that involved white people, for example, Daniel Pearl's execution, or 9/11, when people were forced out of those buildings and jumping to their death, we don't need those videos to know that something horrible happened that day, and we need justice for it. And so that's what I'm really calling for, is that we gradually just ratchet it up so that we can give Black and brown people that same affordance, so that we can say, we trust you, we believe you. And if there is video, again, that family should have the choice whether they want to release it or not. It's not that we're just holding it back and saying we're never going to show it to anyone. But I believe in the way that Mamie Till Mobley had a choice to show Emmett Till's body, modern families should have that same choice to not have their loved ones just on someone's feed, no trigger warning, and be there indefinitely. Because it shifts the narrative as well in terms of their death being more important than how they live their life. And I think if Black lives are truly going to matter in this country, we really have to focus on how are Black people living their lives? How are they allowed to move about this country, to sleep in their beds and mind their business, to have meetings at a Starbucks, to be on an Ivy League campus and take a nap? All of these living while Black things are incredibly important. And the discussion of Black life has to happen just as much as the discussions of Black death.
I read your article where you said this is the third iteration of the Black community having to do their own journalism about Black deaths. What does it look like? What is that next iteration? What is that?
I think that next iteration is definitely one of choice, of family choice, families making the decision about how they want their loved ones in their precious last moments bandied about online. And I think that if we give them that choice as a journalistic community, then it will make even more remarkable those videos that we do get to see and not numb us. I'm very concerned about the fact that people are opting out of seeing these videos because they just don't want to be traumatized, and rightfully so. But then when you hear that, you see the irony of the fact that it was put out in the first place to raise awareness, and people willfully turning their heads away from it because they don't want to be traumatized. So what that says to me is we need less video, more policy, more justice. We have the proof, we have the pain, we need policy now. That's really what has to happen.
Dr. Alyssa Richardson, thank you so much for adding some context to this conversation today.
Thank you.